Okay, I'm going to try this again because I believe I was heard. Let's see. Okay. So, I wanted to make this video about resting and how important it is because a lot of us don't know how to do it. It is not something that I think is comfortable for a lot of us, and that's kind of why I wanted to make this, because as I sit uncomfortably in my bed, and it is 9:24 on the West Coast, it still very much so is an important thing that I actually do what I'm on this video to talk about. I wanted to go out and I wanted to DoorDash for a little bit, especially during dinner time, but my body was insanely exhausted. And it's so funny to me because this is the first night that I've ever experienced where DoorDash was actually extremely slow, like very, very slow. So I say this, oh my God. Sorry, my dog is playing with his toy. I was making sure he was good. I say this because, so I basically tried to fight against it for a little bit, and then I realized, why am I doing this? This is really the universe trying to tell me that I need to do exactly what I think I need to do, and that is to sit still. Sitting still is something, like I was saying before, that I feel like a lot of us don't really necessarily know how to do. I think that's why it's so interesting, because with all this stuff going on in the world, it's a lot easier for us to grab onto attention with things that don't actually make us any better, right? They're not profitable spiritually or financially, and it's just so easy for us to hold on to those things or grab onto those things that are going on in social media, things that are going on in the world of politics, things that are going on at your job or whatever you're doing, gossip, all the stuff that's happening, love and hip hop, freaking housewives of whatever, you know, all these things that it's so easy for us to grab hold to and adopt as information that we can then use that energy to not rest, right? Like, if we're adopting another energy that's not ours, we don't have to sit with our own energy. And that in itself is already something that I feel like we struggle with naturally. So why would we want to adopt something else that's not ours, right? Why not get acquainted with what we're not used to? I think what it really comes to is the fact that, you know, you think of the full year that we had in 2020, where it is the coronavirus, and even the fact, I mean, obviously it's still going on now, but that was like the major thing, is the headlines and everything else, and everybody was so focused on it that it was almost like we were utilizing even that to distract us from resting, which is the whole point of what the coronavirus was allowing us to do, was to actually rest, be at home, be quarantined, however else you want to put it, kind of spend some time away from working so much. And, you know, the government gave most of us, some of us still, unfortunately, did not get funding from that and struggled heavily from that. But the ones that did get funding, it was an opportunity for us to kind of really have no excuses to sit in self or to start a new project that we really wanted to start, and to have the funding to do so. A lot of us got paid more with the government assistance than we did on a regular job. But at the same token, again, having all of that time, we still struggled, again, with sitting in it. A lot of us still went on social media on a ridiculous amount of screen time and just like adopted so many theories and adopted opinions and adopted all this stuff that had nothing to do with what we were personally going through. Just so that way we can fill our voids of actually sitting with self. So now that, you know, things are starting to pick up, I know it's all different on different coasts. Different coasts, as if there's like more than two. Sorry, geek moment. But you know what I mean? Like, it's different on the coast of like the East Coast and the West Coast, because certain aspects of, well, no, not necessarily. It could also be North and South as well, because you have Florida that's wide open, and then Arizona is fairly like wide open too. when it comes to things being, you know, you can go places and stuff. And East Coast, certain parts of East Coast are a little bit more accepting than others when it comes to what's open to. It's definitely a state by state thing. But what I can tell you is out here in Arizona, and like, you know, where one of my best friends lives in Florida, you know, things are starting to either open up or become more relaxed. And it's interesting how quickly people just kind of forgot that rest time and all the things that they said that they were going to do during that rest time. It's like now the restaurants are back open. Now the gyms are back open. Now, you know, like they're not mandating certain people, like certain places to wear masks. So although I'm not going to lie, there's a beauty in the fact that I feel like people are starting to wake up to understanding that, like, or to self-understanding, I should say, because everyone has their own opinions, but people are starting to own their power of, you know, whether they feel like they can actually get sick or not. And I feel like that's a mental thing. So if all of us say we're not going to get sick, I think we have more of a defense as a society to say we're not going to allow coronavirus to get the best of us. It's more, you know, we're energetic people. So although the Matrix will have you thinking that it's all having to do with like germs and stuff, it's still very much so connected to the mind. And I've mentioned this movie a lot. I say watch Doctor Strange. It talks about it a lot in that film, that the mind really has control over whether you allow foreign energies to come into your house and get you sick in the first place, or if you have a stronger power to override that virus that's trying to naturally override you. In that sense, like, you have that ability to say screw that, like, or for those that are religious, oh my God, this is so bad because my mom says it all the time. And I believe in God, but there's, you know, I have different verbiage, but it's almost like saying now, like, I refuse it. It's a certain way of saying it. I'm sure somebody that's watching will eventually type, I don't know if it's I repent it in the name of Jesus or something, but sorry, my dog's playing in the back as usual when he knows I'm making a video. So if you hear him, it's not my fault. But yeah, so back to what I was saying, it's like when you refuse something and you refuse an energy, you know, like you don't need salt or sage to refuse it. It's all mental. It's all a way for you to say, listen, I'm not going to adopt that energy, right? So I feel like there's a beauty to the fact that a lot of us are starting to take ownership of our houses, which not just your house that you live in, you know, your 4 walls or however many walls you live in, that, you know, a resident would be considered a house. You also have a home to your soul. And when you don't allow somebody to come into your home, it's just as serious as when they say, like, vampires have to knock on the door and ask to be let in, and you have to let them in order for them to come in. Like, it's the same thing. When you take the idea of vampirism, it's energy sucking. Whether it's blood sucking, energy sucking, however you want to put it, like, if you don't allow a virus to come into yourself and you refuse it or repent it or however you want to say it, like, you have that control of saying, I'm not going to allow myself to get sick. You may still get symptoms. You may, you know, still have some type of thing to pass on to the next person. I'm not saying that that's not possible. I have my own opinion on that, but I know, like, for me, for example, if I feel like I'm coming down with something, my natural thing is to rest, is to say, listen, my body needs itself to heal and to actually process things and to actually, like, just have a moment to be internal before it then expects to keep moving, right? Movement is so easy, but resting is so hard for some people. Including myself, which is why I'm making this, because I always make videos that have to do with what I need to work on myself. So that being said, you know, we have that idea, and now going back to what I was talking about, you know, you have now all these places that are starting to open up, and there's also places that are starting to close down as well, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, how do I put it? With opening up and closing, it's almost like a life sequence that you see when there's like an operating table and you see those lines of like how the vitals are going. There's so much movement. And I really feel like the reason why that's occurring is because, again, it's energy that you can adopt. I think that this is something that a lot of the media wants to happen. A lot of, the people, even people, it's not just the media. Listen, if you adopt anything that is not your personal intuition or opinion, like, don't blame the media for it. That's almost as bad as blaming the devil for the reason why you, like, did something to somebody else. Like, the devil didn't do it. You did it. Like, you tapped into that devilish energy, and you should own up to self and own up to what you decided to do. Like, nobody forced you to do it. You chose to do it. And so the idea is, don't take other opportunities to refrain yourself from going through that understanding that you could have made a different decision. So you don't have to turn the news on. You don't have to, go on Facebook and like scroll up and down and like get annoyed by everybody's opinions, or, write 5-paragraph essays thinking somebody's actually going to read that shit, because they mostly are not going to read it, because most people that are scrolling are looking for reasons to like shell their opinion out. They really don't give two shits about yours. They just want to get on there and find something that's contradicting towards theirs, so it can spark some interest in responding, so someone can pay attention to what they have to say. It's very narcissistic, but that's really what a lot of this stuff is doing. It's not for conversation, because let's be honest, if we were really having a conversation, they would actually be listening in the process. That's what conversation is. You have to speak while one shuts up and actually processes, and then that person stops talking, and then that next person speaks, and this person shuts up and lets that person say whatever and processes. So if there's not an actual like understanding to information, there is really no conversation. And how many times do you see people just going at it? They're not even reading what each other is saying. So like, realistically speaking, if you adopt that energy or anything that's against yours and you start writing paragraphs, that was just a reason for you to get involved in a said conversation that's actually really not a conversation, just so that way you can distract thyself of what you're thinking. Because realistically speaking, who gives a shit what anybody says on a post? Right? Like, let them say whatever they want to say. Like, it doesn't hurt you at night. You know what I mean? Like, you get to still go to sleep and sleep in your bed and do whatever the hell you want. You want to grab some ice cream from the freezer, like, whatever. Like, that's up to you to get bothered by what someone else says. If they're not paying your bills, they're not your partner, they're not, the ones that are going to make a difference in like your day. Like, if you adopt that personality issue that you feel like they have and make it about you, dude, it's selfish. Like, the shit is not about you. So again, taking that whole thing and then like adopting it, that is your energy being replaced, your own personal, intuitive, loving energy that you could choose to have, being replaced with someone else's shit that is not really meant for you to understand, because it didn't come from you. It came from them. And realistically speaking, whether you believe in God, the universe, Jesus, freaking Pikachu, whatever you believe in, at the end of the day, that should be the only thing that you actually care to actually like get validation from. Because that's the energy that's feeding you. That's the energy that knows you, that you talk to when no one else is there to listen. Like, that sees you through all of the walls that you put up or even live in. Like, that's the energy that matters. So if you're adopting energy that's against that, then you're tapping into an energy that's actually like a natural defense for self. You're tapping into your opponent. And opponent energy is only shadow energy. That's really what it is. That's the only energy that really is against you, because you're attracting those people that represent that opponent energy. It's an opposition. It's things that it might be the opposite of how you feel, what you want to see, whatever the case may be. So the idea is, bringing it all back, sorry, I'm a Libra Mercury and my shit's everywhere. But the point is, I believe in Pikachu. Thanks, Ramon. I appreciate you. The point is that at the end of the day, if you decide to tap into this whole vital that is just a mountain up and down and up and down and up and down. That's just like a tornado waiting to happen, because it's literally taking hot air, cold air, warm air, dry air, humid air. It's so fluctuating. And although it can also represent to some people like water that you can surf on, it's still like heavy current that you may not necessarily be prepared for. So why not rest first? Why not prepare thyself a little bit, right? I mean, it's going to happen either way. You walk outside and everyone is talking about the impeachment. Freaking, I mean, what else is going on? Honestly, this is usually when I would put a cricket in my editing session, because I am so detached from like media at this point because I'm over it. But whatever else is going on, like, this is when all this shit is like, hey, pay attention to me. And you have to ask that shit in its face. Why? What are you going to offer me? What are you going to give to me spiritually, emotionally? Because you're going to offer something, but it's not always going to be profitable. It's not always going to be something that I can utilize as food intake that's going to promote me to have more energy to move in the way that I want to, right? It might deplete my energy. It might make me so annoyed with whatever's going on that it might like distract me from all my plans that I had written out, all my intentions, right? You don't have to be considered. I mean, come on. Sure, I would identify as spiritual because it's the next best human word of explaining my openness and freedom and my expression and how I feel. And I hate labels. But like, realistically speaking, at the end of the day, like, let's take all that wording out, like all of it out. At the end of the day, it's just like, what's going to help me flow better, right? Like, maybe intentions is not a word that you use, but like my plans, my goals, my wishes, my needs, however you want to define intentions, it's like, if that shit is not putting energy into that, why are you adopting it? So, like, realistically speaking, like, this goes for everything in life. Friends, family, job, all of that. Like, allow yourself to feel like you're getting a charge from these things around you, that they're coming in to charge you and help you work, because if you do that, then you can rest. You don't have to keep working and working and working and working, right? We talk about this a lot in my last video when I talked about devilish energy and the devil card. Like, you're choosing to work as hard as you are needing to do. Like, one thing that I've learned on DoorDash, which I absolutely love, like literally absolutely love, is the fact that I can decline orders. And like, my decline rate right now is like 55% out of 100, which is terrible. But once I found out on YouTube from some friendly people that are helping me make money now, because I'm studying what they're saying, like, that you can just keep declining. Like, some of them have like a 20% decline rate. Like, as long as you don't accept a job, then technically they can't like force you to do it, because you're working at will. Once you accept a job, then you have to do it. You can get penalized for not completing that order, but like, you're not going to get penalized where they can like fire you from not accepting orders. Like, they can't do that. It's in their contract. I'm sure there's another crazy amount of stuff in their contract too that probably they can use for contradiction, but there's so many people working and doing this that like, yeah, you're going to get a lot of, you know, declined orders if it's not making you any money. But the person explains, you have to value your time, value, you know, what you're actually making. Like, you're out here using your car, okay? Just like in general, right? If you work a 9 to 5, or if you work for yourself even, or if you work like for, you know, not a 9 to 5, something else. But like, you're out here using your car, yourself. You're out here using your body. You only get one, okay? And if that shit is not giving you what you feel like you're valued to make, Stop the adopted excuses of, oh, well, this is all I can do because blah, blah, bullshit. There's so many career choices out there. If you sit in that career choice because you know it, because it's comfortable, because it's easier, then how do you expect to grow? How do you expect to get to the next level or next tier as a person when you're accepting the value that that company or that 9 to 5 or even like what you accept for even like your business? Some of us have our businesses, and I'm going to be honest, like I'll take a hit for this. Like I have a business going myself where, you know, I have my astrology business and my tarot business, but I know good damn well if I don't make videos on a regular basis, how is somebody going to know I'm still doing that? They're not going to know. So it's my responsibility to say, hey, listen, yeah, I'm making money in DoorDash, and yeah, you know, I'm out here, I worked at a restaurant for a little bit, I'm waiting for everything to work out with the salon. But even with the salon, if it's like, okay, I'm overworking myself and I'm not taking the time to focus on what I have to do with videos, like that's an option that I made. Is that feeding me? It's still my business, but I'm not feeding into it enough for it to replenish in a profitable manner for me, right? So it's not just working for other people. It's also working for yourself, and you have to give yourself that energy, right? Once you adopt an idea of a business or adopt a project or adopt any of that matter, you have to value self. And if you're not giving yourself the value that you feel like you deserve, you can't blame anybody else but you. There's no one else in this world that can define value of self but you. Because guarantee, survival of the fittest, they're out here trying to make it just like you are. Just like you are. And although a lot of people might fall into that devilish manner of the hierarchy of the industry of somebody's a manager, somebody's the boss. That's the funniest shit I've ever heard. But somebody's all this stuff that's higher, right? Someone's the king. That's really what we're saying. Someone's the king. Like, president even? Someone's the king. Someone's the president. Someone's the... Dude, like, you are your own fucking president. I'm sorry I have to curse, but you know I get, like, super go-y when I'm like talking like this. You're your own fucking president, bro. Like, I've been saying this forever. Like, be your president, be your president. I'm pointing here because this controls all of this. Like, stop focusing and adopting things that have nothing to do with you. It doesn't have anything to do with you. It doesn't feed you. It doesn't make you better. Leave it the fuck alone. Like, seriously. Like, I cannot tell you how many times I've had people come up to me about things that have to do with love and hip-hop, Biden and Trump, freaking, and like, I'm not going to sit here and say I haven't fell into it myself. I had a point in time that I did, but then I had to realize, like, dude, none of them know who I am. Like, even like, yo, I respect people that watch sports, but like, they don't know me. And I had to learn that. So even though I'm having, you know, at one point I was drinking my beer with the guys at the sports bar and hanging out with the firefighters from Big Shots. And I mean, I love you guys if you're watching. And like the cops from Big Shots and all this other stuff. Like, realistically speaking, once I got by myself and I realized, I was like, I'm not a sports chick. I don't give a shit what these people are doing. And this is nothing against people that do watch sports. But my point is that you get to a point when you're starting to ascend within self where you're like, yo, at the end of the day, when I go to sleep, it's me. I have to sit in my thoughts. I have to sit in my body. I have to sit in my spirit, my energy. And like, if these people don't know who you are, they're not feeding you, they're not doing, it's not worth getting into a fight with somebody at the bar over who scored what point and this, and it turns into like this problem now that you have, or like getting into fights with people about freaking Biden and Trump and getting into fights about race and all. Like, are you kidding me? The surface shit that we actually drive ourselves crazy about. I don't give a fuck what kind of color skin you have. You rip that shit off, you have blood and organs underneath you, and that's it. Like, all this stuff that we argue about it's adopted energy to distract thyself from thyself's own shit. Literally. So call it racism or not, it's punk stuff. It's stuff that it's just an adopted energy that you're using to distract you. That's it. Realistically, you know, you don't care that I'm of color or that this person's white or this person is Puerto Rican. No, nobody really cares. There's something about that person that frustrates you because they have something that you don't. and you're using race, status of job, and freaking where the person lives, all that shit, you're using it as an excuse to find something that you can pinpoint on that person. And honestly, it's just stupid. Like, you really have an inner problem with self, and you want to adopt the unnecessary bullshit to cause this person to feel, or to make yourself feel like they're lesser than. And really, it's something wrong with you. Really, it's you don't want to rest. You don't want to sit in self. You don't want to process what the issue really may be. And all of us do it. All of us have done it before. All of us. All of us have had someone that they look at and they're like, damn, man, they have something I want. And I'm going to find an excuse on why they still suck. I can't tell them that this is awesome. I want this. I'm just going to find an excuse that has to do with their body image, who they work for, what they're doing every day, whatever, how they smell, what they put in their hair. I don't freaking know. Whatever it is, I'm going to find a problem so I can try to make myself feel like I'm justified to feel the way that I do. And you shouldn't, because it's lame. It's fucking lame. And it makes you the psycho. Because why? Why are you still focused on that person? Why not focus on self? Why not focus on replenishing self? And if there's ever a moment where you do also feel like there is that inner jealousy, which happens. It happens. Why not use it as a way to promote yourself to working on what you're jealous about? Because it's okay to see someone else in a certain thing that you want. It's comparison. It's natural. Again, this is your opponent that is attracting outward and seeing other people, right? And you're attracting that energy. So it's okay. It's okay to see something that you really, really want. Use it as ammunition for self. Use it as a way to say, yo, I'm going to work on this on myself because I want these things. I want this for myself. You don't even have to tell the person if it makes you feel better. I'm sorry, my dog is scratching at my bed. Yes. Would you like to come up? Excuse me. Oh my God, please don't drop my camera, Skylar. I'm sorry if I'm showing you booty. I don't mean to. Okay, so let's just hope he doesn't knock over my camera. Okay, so there's nothing up here. You're going to be disappointed. I'm sorry. So my point is, when I'm bringing it all back to the concept of rest with yourself. Get comfortable. Find out in the moment of just being to self what it is that makes you frustrated about who you are. You know, everybody wants to just like glide through life sometimes. And although it's nice to like disappear for a little bit or find a little vice to kind of get your rocks off for the moment so you don't have to actually think about these things, it's a temporary Band-Aid, right? It's just as shitty as any type of form of chemical medicine. It doesn't cure the problem. It just fucking band-aids it. Like, and if you want that type of medicine, sure, you can utilize that. Why not? And see how well that works for you after, because it doesn't do anything but prolong the situation, right? Get in self. True medicine, true scientist is thyself. You want a vaccine? I hate to break it to you, and I know a lot of people, I'm going to piss a lot of people off. And if I actually, like, people defriend me for this, it will be funny. I probably won't notice. I have, like, 3,000 friends. But my point is, the vaccine, think about it. The vaccine is supposed to have something in it to get your body used to the illness so it can learn how to defend itself. Okay. So a chemical is going to come into you and tell you how to defend yours. Does that make sense? I mean, I don't know. Like, I personally feel like I could just tell myself that. Like, I can refuse things that I don't want coming near me, just like I refuse people all the time. Like, I refuse energy all the time if I don't want it. So, like, I just don't understand. If everything vibes off of energy, how the hell is something that's energetic, that's created by humans, going to completely re-switch my whole system to do something that I can do personally? Like, I can do it. And again, a lot of people may not agree with me. A lot of people might say, oh, if that was the case, maybe my, you know, my loved one would not be here anymore. It's possible. I'm not going to say that I'm, you know, I know everything, but in Suki's world, that's the way that shit works. And like, even if I did get sick, I have to also ask myself, what in me allowed that to come into my system? What part of me was not guarded, protected? You know, you have the chakras, the energy sources. Like, what part of me is not right? Right? I mean, colors, shapes, numbers, freaking all of that stuff all connects to everything, because everything is everything. So even in Eastern medicine, the natural way of the holistic way is if you struggle at, let's say, I don't know, there's some issues going on in a certain body. Let's say speech, right? Speech channels to Taurus energy, which is earth-based, okay? So we're going to know right then and there that it might be something that is being processed that is maybe too much water, too much fire, too much air, something that is tapping into that element that's causing this deficiency of that earth energy, right? So you might need to start surrounding yourself with earth things or eating earth things, right? Because Taurus energy is like taking in food as well. It's second house stuff. So like maybe you need to start taking in something that is going to be more grounding. Maybe it needs to connect to the earth. Maybe you might need a vegetable that has a little freaking dirt on it. Like, take in the earth a little bit more so you can go ahead and replenish that area. This is not something I just made up. This shit has been used for years in other countries, right? I wish I can grab my book. It's across the room. If I had my telekinesis working and I can show it on camera, I'd bring it here. Just kidding. We can't show that type of shit on camera. Not only would Facebook shut me down, but I'm not going to be here right after. They cage me up so damn quick and then use me as one of those pods in Mission Impossible. Anyway, so there's an Ayurvedic book that I have that's across the room, and it talks about this. It talks about the ability to use colors of food to tap into certain areas of self. So giving you an example, red meat. Red meat is actually Mars. Like, that's Mars energy. It is that energy of aggression, right? It's the energy of Aries, of Scorpio. It's more Aries energy because it's red. Whereas I say this in previous videos that Scorpio is more like blue fire. It's internal fire. It's like the hottest fire because it's not really comfortable with like allowing itself out that often. So like that's going to be a different system. That might be certain seafoods even that are a little bit more like, I don't know, more exotic that are like underneath. Maybe like eel or something would probably be more Scorpio energy because it's more like electrifying but like inward as far as the ocean. So like things like that might vibe off of that. But I do know that Mars is definitely an energy that is carried in red meat. And like especially lamb, right? Lamb is like a very aggressive meat. It kind of gets that energy going. So let's say that you have like a very, I don't know, some like your body doesn't feel like it has a lot of energy and you're somebody that does eat meat. I do not, but I'm just saying this because this is one thing that I definitely do know, and I've studied this a lot and it makes a lot of sense. But if you're a person who is struggling with energy and you feel very lethargic, and you eat meat, it would make so much sense to eat a little bit of lamb. Not go bonkers, but like, you know, eat a little bit in your diet because of the fact that you now have that type of source of that Mars energy. It's going to kind of pump you up a little bit. It's like very similar to caffeine, like, but it'll be obviously more on a meal concept. When it comes to energies of veggies, right? Like there's certain vegetables that have more sugar intake. I actually just found out that carrots actually have more sugar intake than I thought it did. And I know that because I actually have to be careful what I give my dog, but my dog eats extremely healthy because I'm a Virgo. I'm a nut, but he can't eat too many carrots because it's so much sugar. And again, like dogs can't eat a lot of sugar. Neither should humans. Why we have better diets for our dogs than ourselves, I have no idea. But the thing that I'm getting to is that there are certain energies that travel on that. When you think of things even like yellow flowers, right? A lot of us are tapping in heavy to this like African energy, which is awesome if you do it the right way, right? So if you think of, you know, the color yellow, a lot of people are going to pop up and be like, I know exactly who you're talking about. Well, like, that's very friendly energy as well. It's a friendly energy. It stands for friendship. It stands for joy, for sunlight. Like, these are all things that connect. It's not just, you know, one thing. It's all connected. So honestly, oh my God, I just went through a long rampage, but I want you guys to understand, it's like you have so much of the medicine that you need to give thyself all around you. You don't need to have a foreign thing give you that. Having a vaccine give you that is just as bad as trying to find someone to give you acceptance of self, to give you validation, to feel comfortable in skin. Being in a relationship just because you have codependency issues and need someone to love you. It's the same shit. Like, you need someone to do something that you could do for yourself, right? Like, CDC never said to, oh, hey, get healthy, keep the gyms open, and, like, work out and, like, eat healthier and stop going to freaking fast food places and drinking soda and coffee, like 5 cups of coffee all day and this and that. Nobody ever said that. No, just stick a vaccine inside of you and all your woes will go away. It's not how that works. You have to do self-work. All of that is adopting an energy to say that someone else has better power over you to fix your problems. They figured it out. Let's go get the vaccine. Let's go get the freaking medicine. Let's go get, I don't know, something else let's go be in the relationship when I haven't even like processed my own shit first. Or that relationship doesn't even really promote me to process. It's cool to be in a relationship, but if like you're working on your shit, I mean, you're never going to be at this full capacity of like self where like you're not going to be working on something. It's just never gonna, unless you just completely decide to give up. But you know, if you're with someone, if you're willing to be a whole enough to know, okay, I can finally start to take on accessories to self, you know, so I'll be in a relationship, make sure that person's still testing you and challenging you to be better. Because if they're not, then it's like you're kind of giving up the opportunity to challenge and better yourself. Because now you're just focusing on them and making sure they work. And that's it. That doesn't make sense. Don't do that to yourself. Just like you shouldn't adopt any of this other shit that's out here. Because it doesn't matter. None of it. None of it matters. None of it. So if you're going to be narcissistic, at least do it like in a way where it's going to like help you, right? Don't be narcissistic and post an Instagram post of you like in a freaking alley and then you say you're in Japan somewhere and like you want all these likes and like, I don't know, you're not doing it for any other reason but just to get likes. Like, that's stupid. If you're going to be narcissistic in a way, when I say narcissistic, quoting it, if you're going to be selfish, do it in a loving way. Do it in a loving way. Obviously, narcissism is not loving, but you get what I'm saying. If you're going to be selfish, do it in a loving way. And anything that you do, allow yourself to do it enough to where you can rest, when you can process, when you can work and value self enough that it allows you to rest on the freaking 7th day, the 6th day, right? If you are not able to ever rest, you're not valuing yourself. You're just overworking. And it's all a freaking distraction, so you don't have to rest. And that's not worth it. Nothing is going to replenish you when you're depleted of energy. It's not. You're going to be in the negative. And every time it comes time to get where you need to get, it's just going to bring you back to square one because you're not allowing yourself to process. And before I go, I really want to bring this up because this is really important. And I had to sit with self to really, 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 really process this. Right now, a lot of us are scrambling for what to do because a lot of us are losing money. Again, if you rest with self for just a little bit and you actually like brainstorm what you could do, and then you like also make like, you know, you brainstorm all these things and you also like put your passions on the other side. Write your passions out and compare notes and just see like a lot of your passions either won't even be present in what you're brainstorming or they'll be all over it. And it'll really help you understand either A, I need to start switching up the way that I'm thinking, and I need to come up with some other ideas that match my passion, or B, oh my God, it's right in front of me. Everything that I want, I can do. I just have to actually make the effort to do it. It's going to be one or the other, you know, because that's really what it's about. Because once you're actually enjoying what you're doing, it becomes a passion of yours. You're already feeding yourself. You're giving yourself the food that you need without having to go out and getting it from the grocery store or the job that you're at or whatever. You're already giving yourself that food. And that food alone is what's going to cause this energy to come in and be utilized. That energy be utilized to execute forward, right? So it's like saying, I want this, I need this, etc., right? Make sure you're balancing that because it's the moon and the sun, right? Sun being what you want, moon being what you need. Make sure you're balancing that and giving respect to both luminaries, right? So once you're able to do that, then it's like, okay, so now that I'm working with my passion, I'm feeding myself naturally, right? Because again, this is one thing to keep in mind. When the body is not fed, it starts to eat itself, right? It will eat its own, the fat, like it will eat its own fat, right? So the same thing reverse would happen when it's feeding itself, right? It will start to grow and ascend and produce and keep feeding thyself over and over again, right? It will just keep feeding thyself, right? A lot of people don't realize that's why when you fast and you get used to fasting, it works out really well sometimes because you realize you don't really need a lot of the food that we had that full triangle of all the food that we're supposed to be eating. That's even a distraction. It turns into sometimes people get addicted to eating food and snacking and things like that. You don't need a lot of that. You don't. I'm not saying don't eat, but I'm saying that eat your own energy enough to be able to produce with it. You can provide that. There's a reason why the woman can provide milk for a child. I feel like a lot of people don't get that. How would a woman provide the milk that a child needs? Mind you, when you're in your younger years, that's when you are really, really vulnerable and really, really, like you're pure water weight and you're just taking things that you're going to need as much food as possible. That's why they raced to the child to stick them with all these vaccines when they first come out of the oven, right? When they first come out the womb, oh, get them now because this is when, you know, they're most susceptible to anything because they're fresh. Okay, well, in that same case, a woman can also provide milk to that child when they're fresh, when they're in their most vulnerable, when, you know, they need the food the most. Like, if that's the case, how come you can't feed yourself with the same energy? Why do you have to go get it from a cow's milk or, you know, like a goat's milk or any, like, why do you have to do that? You don't have to do all of that. You have to learn that your body is literally its own kitchen. And you can provide that energy just by valuing thyself. Just by valuing thyself. And I know that this might be a heavy concept to take in. And I know some people will be like, what the hell? This is like against science. Okay, but science was created by human beings. Everything is created in this idea of understanding something. But at the end of the day, intuition, how does that come naturally? Feeding child through your chest, how does that come naturally? These things come naturally. Even aiding self with berries or herbs or whatever, these things are you can do this. This is, all of it is here. You don't need someone to create it for you. Everything you need to cure thyself and to feed thyself is within. If you listen to thy map, you will find it. You will be attracted to certain colors. You will be attracted to, and I'm talking about colors to wear even. You will be attracted to certain foods, certain diets. You will be attracted to certain things because your body is telling you that it's going to provide some type of profit for you. Or you're going to attract it because you're in a state of a negative concept that you have adopted instead of owning thy energy and seeing thy love and thy beauty. At that point, you'll start attracting the things that don't feed you, that are high in sugar content or high in like some type of like amount of fat content or I don't even want to say really calorie, but cholesterol, things like that. Like you'll attract those things when you're vibrating on that frequency. So we talked about many things here tonight. But the point that I want to make in the entire thing that we discussed is that if you overwork and if you don't value yourself enough to do the things that you love or to adopt your own energy instead of everyone else's, then you're going to continue to become very uncomfortable with resting because you won't allow yourself to sit in you. And that is really all that you need the most, is to sit in you. Okay? All right, so I'm going to go eat the veggie wrap that's holding up this video camera in a box. It's in a box. And I'm going to try to rest because now it is 10:10, and how I talk to an hour, I just never get it. It goes by so quickly. But this is the time that I'm going to choose to rest early, even though I have so many things in my mind that I really can do, like my grocery list tomorrow. I can clean my house. I can do laundry. I can do all of this stuff that I really want to get done. But tonight, I think the first sign was the slow night with DoorDash and accepting that energy and accepting what the universe is trying to tell me is to not force it and just to rest. And that's what I'm going to do. And there's always another day tomorrow. All right. Love you. Good night.